the protocol. I have had the fortune of meeting many of you that I'm seeing on the webinar today. I joined the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol in the middle of last year. So as we get the team established and start to scale, what I really wanted to do today was come and give you an overview, update on where we're at with some highlights, and then focus on the second half, talk a little bit about what's happening with the Climate Smart grant and what our ambitions are there. You may have heard of the beginning. I am based in Lubbock, Texas. I have been there for over 20 plus years. I'm not 22 now at this point, I think. Very familiar with cotton agriculture, and my background really is working with retailers and brands over the last 15 plus years on their raw material sourcing strategies. So the focus for today with the protocol, knowing that the audience is predominantly growers, we really wanted to talk to you about what it is that the program is doing with the intent of what you see on the screen, maximizing benefits and driving demand for your cotton. So the best way that I can summarize what the protocol is all about is we're the voluntary sustainability program for U.S. cotton growers and traceability platform for all U.S. cotton. I can't underscore the importance of that enough in the market right now. As we work with retailers and brands that are signed up to the protocol in their sourcing strategy, they have an increased pressure for traceability, meaning they want to be able to track the country of origin back through a very dense and complicated supply chain. But through that, they're able to tell the sustainability story of U.S. cotton and all of the advances that the industry has made over the last decades. And when we quantify and capture that information and that data and hand it basically to our members on a silver platter, they're able to really see the value of U.S. cotton, make sure that we have U.S. cotton on that preferred material sourcing list, which is important for, let me just, I just got a notification there. It's really important for you guys because we're able to quantify and validate the information of what's actually happening in the field, which is the platform for these guys to be able to tell their story, not just to customers and their consumers, but really to their stakeholders that they're being held accountable for. The program is now in our fourth year. So we have we established in 2020, as you guys know, that was the launch. And as of right now, we have over 2,000 members from the supply chain. That includes mills and manufacturers down to yarn spinners. And they come from 40 different countries. And then the brand side, we now have 40 global companies that are represented with the brands and retailers that are part of the organization. After collecting data for 3 years, you're really able to start to articulate trends. And that's the intent for the protocol going forward, is collecting that information and telling that story for a U.S. cotton grower. It's always about protecting the data. The grower owns their data when they sign up to the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And that's always been the case since day one. And that remains core value for us. But when we take all of that data together and aggregate that, then we're able to quantify the major impacts that you guys are familiar with and all of the information that you input into the program. We're able to talk about that more holistically with the market. This last season, hopefully everybody saw when we released the annual report just this quarter, that 23% of harvested cotton acres are enrolled in the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol this last season. And we had 1.7 million planted acres. So substantial growth in terms of participation. But I'll also say that in order to keep that going, we know that we have to focus on making sure that the members at the top, the retailers and brands and the suppliers and manufacturers, are focused on sourcing your cotton, pulling it through, getting the demand lever from that brand all the way back down to the grower. That is really a core focus for the organization. And then Climate Smart Cotton, we have 48% of growers that have applied to be a part of that program, which we'll talk about in the second half here. Just a snapshot reminder of some of the brand names that you recognize. Amazon, we were just at their headquarters a few weeks ago to talk to their teams about including the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol on their preferred fiber list. That's one example of many brands that we're engaging with, and the team has done a fantastic job engaging with the retailers and brands to get them. Again, it's not just signing up to say, yeah, we're a member of the protocol. We really need everyone sourcing actively, working with their suppliers, nominating U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol in their supply chain. And then this is a snapshot to show the visual of where all the mills and manufacturers are located. Just in regards to time, I'm going to keep moving here. And this shows a snapshot of the 974 growers that signed up to the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol this year. You can see that we have growers in every state, and we have an increased team to support those growers, which I'll introduce here in just a minute. But I wanted to remind everybody too of what we promote as the benefits of even signing up to the protocol from a grower's perspective. And the ultimate thing that I think we need to lean into more is providing those field level insights that ultimately you guys, from all the growers that I've met over my time, I know that you're doing everything you can with your land already for efficiencies. It's all about profitability and minimizing your cost and your impact. And when we think about the field level insights that the program provides through the field print calculator, I think that there's a big gap that we have to start addressing, that there's a lot of information that you're putting into the program that spits information back out to you to be able to compare your own operation against yourself over time, your own operation against your neighbors, and even regionally. You can start to look at what those trends are and see where you might have opportunities. We also provide the ability to measure and verify sustainable growing practices. And that's the whole idea with a sustainability program. And I use air quotes when I say sustainability because I think that term has been overused quite a bit over the last decade, and it can mean different things to different people. But what we're saying is increased efficiencies, reduced impacts, and how do you verify that, quantify that? That's really what the program is providing. So we can also establish a platform that connects you with the international supply chain and improve access to marketers. That's really the core, right? I was talking in the beginning about driving demand through the supply chain. That's really the goal of what we're trying to achieve here. And there's also the opportunity to participate with the Climate Smart Cotton program. So the U.S. cotton industry came together back in 2017, 2018 to create this program as a way to support U.S. cotton growers and connect them with the international market that had a growing demand shift. And I think that's still core of what we're trying to do today. It's the voluntary sustainability program. We are also the lead participant for the Climate Smart Cotton Grant. So this, the stated mission was aiming to improve carbon footprint of U.S. cotton. And I hope everybody on this call is probably more familiar with the whole landscape of what happened with the USDA in terms of creating the climate smart opportunity for multiple different commodities. And we were the lead recipient for U.S. cotton. And really that program was meant to provide not just financial, but technical assistance for U.S. cotton growers who are looking to implement different practices. And ultimately, we're trying to create more value for one field beyond just the lint that comes out of that field in one season. But we're also looking at the carbon inset market, which is new territory. It's a new area for a lot of people, including retailers and brands who have been focused on carbon reduction within their own operation and within their own supply chain. The next frontier is really those tier 3 raw materials. And that's where we think cotton has a great opportunity to not just sequester carbon and be able to sell that carbon sequestration to the market, to the open bidder. We're really trying to find ways to create that landscape now by doing things like next month, we're going to have a workshop for retailers and brands to explore carbon and what that means, moving from carbon offsets to carbon insets. So that program is really a core functionality of what we're trying to achieve at the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And these 5-year goals that have been publicly shared before, we want to address 1.2 million acres with climate smart cotton practices. And I'll explain what that is in case anybody on this call is not familiar. We want to quantify 4.2 million bales, and then you can also reduce the emissions associated with cotton that is participating in the program by 1.14 million metric tons. I am not a carbon expert myself, but I understand that the drive from a lot of the market around something called Science-Based Targets Initiative means that they want to quantify, verify, and pay for their carbon sequestration and get credit for that from their stakeholders. So again, cotton is a prime opportunity to be able to do that. And then, of course, we want to enroll 1,650 farming entities with 330 of those spots reserved for historically underserved communities as defined by the USDA. We're not doing this alone. We're not engaging with growers alone. We have several program partners that are working with cotton growers in different regions around the U.S. directly. And I think that's one of the unique things that we as the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol bring to the table is a regionally relevant context. It's not meant to be a prescriptive farming practice that says you as a cotton grower have to equal X, Y, Z. There are requirements for participation, but it's in a regionally relevant context, taking in the East, the Mid-South, the Southeast, all of the different regions, the high plains where I live. All of that is really important for implementation of different practices that are included in the Climate Smart Grant. So we wanted to be able to partner with these guys on the screen. I see several of which were joining the webinar today. I saw Christy from Texas A&M AgriLife Research join. That's just one of many groups who are helping us implement some of these milestones that you see on screen now. We started the process just the middle of last year. The contract was actually finalized at the end of April. We started level 1 applications in summer of last year. Level 2 enrollment started in September. And we started to distribute the first payments to growers back in December. And many of those checks are still coming in the mail today. So it's a rolling process, and we've distributed over 1.5 million US dollars to U.S. cotton growers across the U.S. But what I want to underscore is we know that this is a temporary process to be able to create a new market, but the long-term vision is that it's able to show a path for cotton growers to maybe look at some different practices that are enabling them to quantify the value on their land. So really quickly, I wanted to walk through this kind of peel back approach because there's a lot of information here. But the program summary is in 3 tiers. We have 3 levels for participation. That first level is just signing up to membership for the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol, and they are eligible for $5 an acre up to 706 acres. And this is per entity. This is not per grower. And it's a pretty simple process, just signing up, going through all of the required membership processes for the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. But that's really the entry path to getting to level 2, which is implementing a climate smart cotton change. Their growers are eligible for $35 per acre for up to 706 acres for 3 years. But it's not just about the payment. It's about technical assistance that comes with that and trying to understand what specific land you're thinking about in terms of what might be able to change with something like cover cropping, something along the lines of a nutrient management plan. And if you're looking at a new practice related to low till or no till, then you're eligible in this grant for these funds. But all of this is really building up to the third process, which is the grower inset payment, the carbon inset payment, where the grower is able to negotiate a carbon inset with markets that we're talking to on a regular basis. We're trying to get these brands to understand how this could work. We're working hand in hand with the team to be able to understand what that could look like for growers, because again, we want to get the value for you out of the land and the processes that you're going through. I believe this information is probably not new for many of you on the call. It's information that's been out for a while, but I wanted to recap that because it really leads to the process that I wanted to walk you through this morning. There are 2 types of carbon credits in agriculture, and that would be carbon inset or a scope 3 or carbon offset. Carbon inset is basically like when I flew here. I'm also this morning I'm in the Memphis office, so I'm calling you from the hotel this morning. And when I booked my flight, I could select offset my flight, the amount of carbon that they estimate is being quantified through the flight from Lubbock, Texas to Memphis, Tennessee. I could offset that by paying a small fee to United Airlines, and they're ultimately going to offset some program somewhere in the world that really has nothing to do with their operation, but it's proven and verified to be sequestering carbon in some form or fashion. A carbon offset is directly related to the supply chain. So for a retailer and brand to say, I want to offset carbon through cotton, they know that they're using cotton in their product. The challenge has historically been tracing that cotton from the field all the way to the end product. Well, with the infrastructure that we've built with the US Cotton Trust Protocol membership, retailers and brands are able to have that article level traceability all the way back through their supply chain that we know has started with US cotton for many years with the unique bale identification process. We've always said that the US cotton is traceable up to the spinning mill, but we know that's where the real complexity comes, is the spinning mill forward. So our membership system for retailers and brands enables them to trace all the way back to the GIN level through the system, through those unique bale identification codes. So that means that carbon offsets are attainable for these retailers and brands. Quick example, I've already said the example for the inset and the same thing for the offset. So what I'll say is that we're really looking at how insetting can work and what that production process is. And when I start with this simple chart, you can see that corporations who are saying we're interested in carbon insetting in some way, we want to sign up with the US Cotton Trust Protocol to source climate smart cotton, which links back to the growers who are implementing new practices through the process, which result in the quantification of GHG insets. So if I can show you again, the GHG quantification happens before and after the practice change, where there's monitoring and evaluation. The partner that we're working with there is SWAF, Soil, Water, and Outcome Fund. And they are helping us go through this process, which is a 6-step process that I'll explain now. First, you secure an agreement that this corporation, they want to actually purchase carbon insets for whatever reason for their organization. Then they have to work with the enrollment specialist to identify growers who may be also interested to work through this contract process with them. But then we have to work with an ecosystem services provider, in our case it's SWAF, to be able to quantify all of that information, right? You can't just say that I think I sequestered this much carbon. There's actually a process of verifying that, where the farmer will implement the practice and go through that verification visit to the field, to go through soil sampling on a 10% rate for all the fields that are going through that, which ultimately is going to enable the grower to sell those insets in a negotiated term with that corporation. This is, again, it's new territory for cotton. It's new territory for a lot of brands. They've not always gone through that historical inset process. They've gone through the offset process, which has really fallen out of favor with retailers and brands for a lot of reasons that I don't want to necessarily spend time going through today. I want to leave plenty of time for Q&A. And how to apply through that process. I'm actually going to come back to this because the team who will help you with that application process is on the line today. And I'd really like to take a moment to introduce everybody. The expanded support that we have for the field, the team is getting up and running. This is what we're here in Memphis for this week, is to work with some of these new team members. And I'm really excited to introduce you to Chaz Holt. Many of you know him already. He is the recent director of field programs, leading our field engagement here at the US Cotton Trust Protocol. And maybe Chaz, I'll turn it. Stacy, do I need to stop sharing my screen to let the team introduce here? Or
nope, everyone can see Chaz now.
Okay. I don't know if that's good or bad, Stacy, but thank you, Daren. And no, Daren's doing a great job explaining what we're doing here. But yeah, as the director of field programs, I've been with the Cotton Trust Protocol now about 6 months or so. I'm super excited about this opportunity. And in that time, we've been able to hire full staff. So we're officially fully staffed in the field program side of things. And that being said, we now have grower enrollment specialists for each of our 3 focus regions. But as you all know, probably Tillman White has been, located here in Memphis. And as Daren said, I'm here as well for a little work trip we're doing. But myself, I'm located in Georgia. And then Bailey Nesmith is our grower enrollment specialist from Texas, Lubbock area. She covers the West and far West. So by far and away, she's covering the largest geographical region. So she's got a lot to do and a lot of travel, and she's working hard. Her enrollment is looking great already, by the way. So you guys out there working with her, thank you, and she's doing a great job. Marion Finley is new to the team as well. She's come to us from Southwest Georgia. So again, very strategically placed, ideal location, has some history working in the gens in the South, and enrolling producers previously to even being employed as her job. So we're pretty excited about that. Again, she's hit the road already, a whopping 3 weeks on the staff, and is already meeting with gen managers and staff and producers, and getting enrollment going. And then finally, we have Willis Fraser. He's also new with us. He's from Oxford, Mississippi, but is a cotton producer himself, and has farmed and lived over on the river most of his life, but just returned to Oxford to raise his family. But he as well, bringing a wealth of information, has a lot of relationships with some of you on the team already. And like us all, I can't see everybody here, but I'm enjoying the participation today, and look forward to fulfilling our needs for the next month or so is what we have for enrollment. So it's going to get intense, but we have staff. I saw some questions popping up there in the chat. How do I get help enrolling? You're looking at it. So all of our contact information, I'm sure, will be provided at some point. By all means, reach out to Tillman or, yep. By all means, reach out to Tillman or I, or any of those grow enrollment specialists in your region, and that's our job. So my job is to empower them to make sure they have the needs to get you as easily enrolled as possible. And that's the point of our roles here, is to make this as seamless and user-friendly and beneficial, and have some price discovery, hopefully in the future, that for all this work you're doing and getting in our system, there is a value add down the line, other than just the inset opportunities. But diversifying your income is obviously a goal of ours for you. And as you can see here, we do have an opportunity when you're enrolling for the Cotton Trust protocols. Most of you guys, I think, have gone through this before if you're on this call. But if you haven't, you can see there's 6 steps to enroll in a Cotton Trust protocol. And when those buttons line up green, you have completed that process or that information required. If it's orange and partially filled like there at the soil or self-assessment, that just means you got to go back and finish it. And if it's not lit up at all, you haven't started it yet. In the field print analysis, we do take 10% of your fields just as an average to represent it, but I'm not going to go into the details of that for time purposes. But we can help you through all these steps. That said, as it references to the Climate Smart grant, you can see there lit up at the top. Once you've completed the protocol enrollment, we highly recommend you go and click here for the Climate Smart component. That will take you to the level 1, and everyone that does that is eligible. It's not, we're not weeding that out. You simply have to be a protocol member. Clicking there to enroll in the Climate Smart grant will just start your level 1 process. It's another questionnaire, few more questions is all it comes down to, not much more time. And that then opens the opportunities for the next 3 to 4 years of level 2 and level 3 additional funding opportunities. So these 2 steps can be done simultaneously through our staff, and hopefully we can train up some of your gens and gym managers. We can host field days. We can do whatever we need to get as many of you taken care of as possible. But by all means, we're an open door. Get a hold of us. Daren, I'm trying to be as fast as I can to stay within time. So if I've missed something, take it away. But appreciate all your time today.
Yeah, thanks, Chaz. No, I think I'm really excited about the field program team being here to support you guys as growers and those who are working, growers, gens. You guys know that this is the heart of the program. We really have 2 teams that are working at opposite ends of the supply chain, with retailers and brands, and then obviously growers and aggregators, the groups like I saw Staple Cottons on today, and many others. You guys are working with the growers directly, and we're expanding that support to be able to make it easier and more painless, I'll say, to participate. And each of these guys that you see on the screen here, they all have an ag background. They in some way, in different ways. And Chaz himself has been a grower for many years. So understanding what's happening at the field, I think that's a really important piece. I'm keenly aware that growers at this stage in 2024, you guys are tired of being beat over the head with messages about brands and saying that, oh, the brands are demanding it, we got to do it. Well, the brands need to show that through sourcing, and we believe that that's coming. We're seeing more and more appetite for that, but keeping the supply bucket full of U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol enrolled cotton means that we will have more to be able to pull through. And that is definitely the stage that we're at as an organization, is being able to unlock that demand inside the supply chain. We realize how important that is. So this is just a quick snapshot again about where we're at across the cotton belt. Again, 23% of harvested acres are signed up to the protocol, which was a 25% increase over the previous year. And then I pulled this quote because I like this quote from Barry Evans. He's also out in West Texas where I live. And again, I think the intent of the program is to measure and improve growing practices. It shows a pathway of continuous improvement. That's how we promoted it always since the beginning. And then understanding how those numbers match up to the market demands are obviously at the central core of what we're trying to achieve here. And ultimately, that makes its way out into the market. So I wanted to show you a few quick examples of now retailers and brands are talking about U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. You can see this hang tag from Next. It's a brand out in the UK. They said this product contains 100% U.S. cotton as verified by the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And I think that this shows, again, the appetite to communicate with consumers and understand the intrinsic value that you guys bring in your operation on a regular basis, making its way to those end consumers. Here's a few more examples. Corporate sustainability reports like what you see with Ralph Lauren and J. Crew, where they're actively talking about their membership in the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And then I also like this tag on the left. Macy's is maybe a more household name that we know in the U.S., where they said Macy's is a proud member of the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. And so all of these claims and statements that brands make are also monitored and verified, because we do not want to be a greenwashing vehicle. Greenwashing, if you guys aren't familiar with that term, just means making up things about we're sustainable. Well, what does that mean? How? What is the process behind that? We're very clear, and I think this is one of the benefits that brands see when they join the protocol, is that we have a suite of off-the-shelf messaging that you can say in a credible, scalable way. So yeah, up to this date, I said 1.5 million earlier. I stand corrected. 1.8 million has been distributed so far to nearly 800, and we'll have more. We'll have more by the end of this month. But only 800 more spots are open for incentive payments, and applications are open through April 30th on a first come first served basis. So the funding pool that we have is limited, but we know there's a lot of interest out there. And that's probably something that I should clarify as well, that has been a little bit confusing in the past, maybe, is the timeline for enrollment with the U.S. Cotton Trust Protocol. We have intentionally moved that enrollment timeline to more closely match the marketing of cotton, so that growers, anyone who is participating and signing up in the program and they're submitting their information, it's more closely aligned with the harvest season and the marketing of that cotton, aligned with what you plan for in the year. Chaz, I'm sure I'm missing a point there, but if there's anything to add on that timeline.
No, not necessarily. No, the Cotton Trust Protocol, this is going to be the fixed timeline. You know, over the past few years, we've sort of moved, and it's been a moving target, but this is a fixed timeline. From now on, we will publicize this across the boards from every year. Just know between January and April, we're going to take enrollment for the Cotton Trust Protocol while the grant is in play. So we have basically 3 more years out of the 4 remaining to take in new enrollment. You have an opportunity really to do that almost any time throughout the spring as a continuation of the protocol enrollment. But that being said, it's getting somewhat competitive to get into that level 1. So we would highly recommend do that in the same time frame you're already at the computer getting it done. So no, and then like Daren said, the ultimate goal is to close our books, be done, know the acres planted, know the acres into production, have a really good projection for what's expected for the market season coming in to the winter. So in November, we can start making payments. from the grant because bales are being uploaded, and equally have those bales on the marketplace for sale. So it's helping everyone.
Perfect. Thanks. So April 30th, that is the deadline. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and share an update on Climate Smart Cotton with you guys. Hopefully there's some questions that we can spend the last part of the webinar answering, and I really appreciate everybody's attention.